We are at LA County's massive processing center. This is the location where all of the ballots are supposed to be shipped and counted. And in the latest ballot dump, LA County says it processed 81,000 votes since the first big election night numbers, but there's still 688,000 to go. Karen Bass is strengthening her lead, picking up about 12,000 votes yesterday. Spencer Pratt added about 6,000 and remains in second. Third place, Nithya Raman added nearly 11,000 votes, eating away at Pratt's lead. Now, in the governor's race, an estimated 60% of the vote is processed. Republican Steve Hilton remains number one. Democrat Javier Becerra picked up 158,000 votes and is closing in on Hilton within about 1 percentage point. Democrat Tom Steyer in third. Now, the most recent mail-in ballots that were processed are favoring Democrats, as many analysts suggested they would. Inside the ballot processing center here in LA County, any ballot that was postmarked by Election Day Tuesday must be counted by law. The process takes so long in part because each ballot must have its signature verified, and if there's an issue, there's a 10-day period to have it cured. California's Secretary of State is defending it all, writing, "Accuracy comes before speed." California is the nation's largest voting state with millions of ballots to process and count. Taking the time to do this work correctly protects voters' rights and ensures the integrity of our election. Now, the state of California statewide says it still has 3.6 million ballots left to be counted. So at this rate, it is very likely that we'll be standing here on Monday, reporting to you on Monday, with many more ballots to be counted.
What's up, family? Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your post notifications because today we're getting into something that should have every one of you asking a real simple question. California just had an election, so why are they still counting votes days later? And I'm not even talking about a couple hundred votes here and there. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of ballots still sitting in a processing center while candidates are in limbo. Regular people are left watching numbers shift every single day with no clear answer for when it's going to stop. And today I want to break this whole thing down with you, family, and we're going to look at the slow count. We're going to look at the ballot dump pattern, and we're going to talk about a whistleblower claim that honestly stopped me cold when I heard it. And then we're going to end it with what I actually think we should be doing about all of this, because complaining without a plan is just noise. So let's start at the beginning, family, because the news reports out of LA County said that after election night, they still had 688,000 ballots left to count. And I want you to sit with that number for a second, because that's not a small backlog. That's not just a little paperwork. That is nearly 700,000 votes that didn't get counted on election night. And when you ask why, the official answer from California's Secretary of State, as you guys heard, is that accuracy comes before speed. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say accuracy doesn't matter, because it absolutely does. But the honest common sense question I have to ask is, why does Florida manage to count millions of ballots and have results before most people go to bed? While California, one of the most resource states in the entire country, can't get through a single city's vote in a week. And the process they describe involves signature verification and a 10-day cure period where voters can fix problems with their ballot, which sounds reasonable on paper. But the part that actually raises eyebrows is that county registrars aren't required to release daily updates, and there's no hard deadline to finish the count. So each county basically drops results whenever they feel like it. And in the last 24 hours of the count, only 3% more of the vote came in. 3%. And that's the pace we're supposed to accept as normal in 2026 with AI and everything else. Now, here's where it starts to feel uneasy for a lot of people, because what you're seeing in this California race mirrors something a lot of people remember from 2020. You got Republican Steve Hilton leading the governor's race on election night, sitting in first place. And then as these new ballot batches come in, Democrat Javier Becerra picks up 158,000 votes and closes within about 1%, about a 1% vote. And in the mayor's race, you got Karen Bass strengthening her lead, picking up about 12,000 votes, while the Republican candidate only added around 6,000. And look, I want to be fair here, because analysts were saying before the election that mail-in ballots would favor Democrats since more Republicans voted in person. So this isn't some surprise shift that came out of nowhere. That part is explainable itself. But the thing that erodes trust isn't just the numbers themselves, it's the fact that there's no consistent update schedule, no clear communication to the public about when the next batch drops or where those ballots are coming from. And when people don't get information, they fill the silence with suspicion. And I think that's a legitimate thing to point out, because if you can explain it, then explain it clearly and upfront so people aren't sitting at home watching the numbers move and wondering what's actually going on. And the lack of that transparency is where the frustration lives. And don't take my word for it. I want you guys to hear what Jesse Waters is saying in regards to what a lot of everyday Americans and Californians are saying as we watch this unfold in real time, because I think it raises not only the sense of ambiguity and suspicion, but it also tells a point in time in our lives of how voting is so dinosauric. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we still voting the same way as we were in yesteryear? With all the innovation and technology we have to have verifications and getting our vote in, why are we still doing the old school way in regards to mail-in ballots? Right? And I get it. Some people do have disabilities. They can't get to the polls. But man, there need to be some ways to work around that. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe the pollster can be assigned to actually having a body cam. This is just me, just bringing up ideas. Having a body cam, like what cops wear, and actually going to the person with disabilities home and actually helping them vote or taking their vote, instead of mail-in ballots, which can be destroyed, which can be set on fire due to oppositions. And it really puts election integrity at risk, let alone voices at risk, because if somebody don't like your risk, oh, we could just burn the ballot box. Like, why are we still doing this dinosaur yesteryear type of method with all the technology we have today? I mean, we could probably have a QR code that can help verify votes from a phone for a person with disabilities to shoot out to make sure their vote count. And those who are able-bodied that's not reported in the election process, get your behind to the voting polls, and that's it. Why can't we just keep it simple? But that's my perspective. Let me know what you guys think about my ideas, or if you got a no idea. We just having a conversation, but it's mind-blowing. But check out Jesse Waters. Sorry to go on a long tangent.
It's been 3 days since California ran its funky jungle primary. We still don't know anything. The governor's race is stuck at only 50. Well, now it just went up to 57% of ballots counted. L.A. mayor, 66% counted. Well, it says 62 there. I guess maybe they updated it a little bit. But no one is in a rush. They're just going to slow walk a winner. That doesn't create trust.
It's insane. This election system that they've created here is just another monument to their uselessness, another version of high-speed rail. The whole thing is insane. I mean, the fact that you're sending out mail ballots to every single person on a voting roll that is wildly inaccurate, the whole thing is a joke, just like pretty much everything else they try and do here.
It's not a mystery. It's slow by design. Gavin rewrote the law to send out millions of ballots to people who didn't even ask for one. And then the ballots can come in a week after the election, and they still count.
Why does it take so long to count ballots in California compared to other states? 80% of voters return their ballots by mail. Each one of them has to go through a signature verification process. If there's a problem in the signature verification process, then you're alerted and you have 10 days to fix that process to come what's called cure your ballot. All that takes time. Eventually, all those ballots come here where they are officially counted.
Then the local registrars gum up a bit worse. They're not required to release daily updates. So each county releases results whenever they feel like it. There's no real deadline to finish the count or to tell people what the votes are. They have about a month to finish. And in the last 24 hours, only 3% more of the vote came in. Florida tallies 8 million ballots before bedtime. California can't even count a single city in a week. What Gavin Newsom has done here is a national embarrassment.
I had a whistleblower that contacted me from a post office describing that they had different buckets they were supposed to put the ballots in after they come in after Election Day, and they were explicitly told that it didn't just have to be a postmark that was on or before Election Day that qualified. If the date was handwritten, that would be okay as well.
Handwritten. So your ballot counts if someone just scribbles a date on it? No postmark, no proof, nothing. Now, if that's true, we are in deep.
And there you have it, folks. And just when you think the slow count and the shift in numbers are the main story, you guys heard it. A whistleblower steps forward with something that honestly, I had to hear twice, family. Because a postal worker reportedly came forward saying that ballots arriving after Election Day were placed in different buckets, and that workers were told the ballot didn't just need an official postmark on or before Election Day to qualify. If the date was handwritten on the envelope, that would count too. And I want to break that down in the plainest terms I know how to use, because a postmark is an official stamp from the post office. It's a record. It's a documented proof of when that piece of mail was actually sent. But a handwritten date is just someone picking up a pen and writing a number on the envelope. And if that's accurate, if that's what was actually happening, that means the chain of custody for those ballots has a gap in it that you cannot explain away with accuracy. But accuracy comes before speed, quote unquote. I find it mind-blowing and also concerning, and I actually justifying Jesse Waters' point of how things are still being done this way, because it's done on purpose, as quote unquote Jesse Waters said. It's slow on purpose, because with all the technology, why can't we technically verify these things and put it into a technological system, a computer? I mean, how many things that have been picked and choose selectively to be computerized as documented to keep documentation, and what hasn't? And why isn't this when it comes to voting? Our license is documented electronically within the DMV, the motor vehicle system. Our registrations, when a cop pulls you over, they can see instantly when they run your license plate if you have insurance, which goes to the database of the insurance database, reporting back to your state. So why isn't votes that way? Let me know in the comments, family. I'm curious. But I want to be clear that this is a claim from a whistleblower and not a confirmed fact. Investigations need to happen and the right process needs to play out. But the reason it even matters as a claim is that your right to vote only means something if every legitimate vote is protected equally. In a system where handwritten date substitute for official postmarks is a system where that protection breaks down. So now you got a slow count, a ballot dump pattern that people can't fully track, and a whistleblower claim sitting out there without resolution. And I hear you, family. I understand the frustration, and I want to pivot here because frustration without action is just noise. And the honest truth is that most off-year elections, as in local legislator, your mayors, your governors, and school board members, only pull about half of the eligible voters, sometimes even less than that. A lot of people think the presidential election is important. I'm not saying it's important, but your local legislators are way more important, because you already know the bureaucratic process and the chain of command when it comes to separation of powers, when it comes to judicial and, executive, et cetera, legislative branches. These are the individuals that go in and vote yay or nay on the behalf of your state to even allow the president to pass what's being proposed. Okay? And you got people complaining loudly about what's happening in California who didn't even show up to vote in the election that decided it. And that's the part that gets me, because if we all showed up, if we actually flooded, if you are in California, because if you live in California, you should be showing up in your state, because you can only participate in the state that you live in, obviously. But these elections, with our participation, we could outvote whatever is working against, and also hold accountable to make sure verification is up to par. Right? Why is voter ID, which most Americans want, even Democratic voters on both sides, partisan-wise, want, keeps getting shot down? Because the individuals, such as the Congress, the representative, and the House of Representatives, and according to your state, and the individual that represents your state in Congress, right? Because you have a congressional representative, you have a House of Representative, that represents your state as well, right? So if an individual in Congress representing your state votes no to voter ID, then this goes back to you as a voter to make sure you are informed, which is my goal and why we have these conversations, not to tell you what to think or how to think, but to spread the truth and make you think for yourself. And the reality is the only way you're able to make sure things go in the right direction is based on your vote and actually getting involved. Because voter ID wouldn't be this difficult to pass when it comes to Save America Act based on the individuals that you allowed as a voter in your local legislations, right? So on this ballot harvesting, if it's legal in your state, you need to be voting, right? But all of this, because you have to outvote whatever is working against us and also hold your representatives accountable to pass. So it outworks on this ballot harvesting, right? You have to use the legal tools available. And there's no reason to sit back and criticize why they work the system. You work it too, right? Because if this ballot harvesting is legal in your state, hold them accountable. So this leads me to Proverbs chapter 14, verse 23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. But that's exactly what I'm saying here. Talk without action doesn't move anything. Showing up does. At the end of the day, family, the system only works when people trust it. And trust only comes when there's real transparency and real accountability. What I want you to take away from this is that walking away from the process is not the answer. Flooding it with your participation is the answer. Showing up so loud and so big, responsibly, that it cannot be ignored is the answer. I'm not here to tell you what to think. And what I mean by loud and big, I'm not talking about inciting violence. I mean actually going through the process out of respect for the process. And if there needs to be changes to uphold election integrity, hold your representatives accountable. You can call your representative. You can leave them a voicemail. They serve you. Have a productive conversation and making sure they work for you. And your vote is your voice if you feel they're not serving the communities to keep things going the right way. Righteously, okay? So I just wanted to break down so you can make up your own mind with the full picture in front of you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your post notifications. Spread the love, peace, and positivity. Let the love supersede the hate, family, always. And as always, we having a conversation. I'll catch you next one. I love you guys so much. Peace.